Hello and welcome back. I know it's been a bit since I last streamed. Between work and school I had very little time to devote to streaming, so that kind of fell by the wayside. So, the last part of When Stars Collide was released earlier today, and I finally had a chance to stream because the next patch for Final Fantasy XIV was also released today, and I wanted to get through that, and it took longer than I thought it would. So there's okay, extras. Here we go. Flow charts. Where are the flow charts? There we go. Come on. So there's 10 total chapters of the common route, and then 3 more chapters after that for each individual romance. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do chapter 10 today, and then I'll stream each of the next 3 chapters on their own. I don't know when I'll next stream. Maybe Friday. Not tomorrow or Thursday. I have other plans on those 2 days. And technically I have plans on Friday, but it shouldn't take me all day the way Wednesday and Thursday will. Wednesday I'm basically going out of town just for the day, and I'll be home I don't know when. But I'm leaving fairly early and just gonna be out of the house, so there's no point to trying to stream. And then Thursday I need to go somewhere first thing in the morning, and I have another thing in the afternoon. So it's just I'm not gonna be able to stream on Thursday. Friday I have to be somewhere in the morning, but I don't have anywhere else to go. Maybe Sunday, and maybe next Wednesday. But I'm not making any guarantees on to when I'll next stream. And there's a kitty in the room with me. Anyway, right, let's see, there was recaps. I keep forgetting about the recaps. The RS Ophelia, a research and exploration vessel in deep space, discovered a dark world lurking inside a black hole during a routine dive. After retrieving a mysterious glowing cube from the planet, they found themselves unable to leave due to an engine malfunction they believed was being caused by the cube. Dazlon Cree, a xenoanthropologist, accidentally deactivated the cube, allowing the ship to escape the black hole. The side of the cube opened and an unknown person crawled out and fainted in his arms. Nymeria awakens on the Ophelia to learn they've been in stasis for nearly 500 years and hidden away on a dark world in a dimensional sphere. Nymeria reveals that their father's people are an infamous archaean species that was thought to be extinct or dormant. They try to allay the fears of the crew, but due to Asher's lack of familiarity with the lands, Nymeria spends a significant amount of time rehashing their history to reassure the crew. Nymeria is met with varying reactions from disbelief to suspicion to intrigue. After being reassured by Noel that they will be allowed to stay on the vessel, they are shown to one of the ship's guest rooms to rest. And I almost forgot to grab my paper for writing down my notes. Yeah. There we go. Apologies. Alright. So this depends on who escorts you to your room depends on who you sit next to at the meeting. And if I remember correctly, I sat next to Asher. To sit next to Asher at the staff meeting, Nymeria is then shown her room by him at Noel's request. During the short walk there, the two of them discuss that Asher was the one who located the black hole in which the crew found Nymeria. They discuss the stasis cube in which Nymeria was sleeping and some of its unusual attributes, while he makes every effort to flirt. Eventually, he leaves Nymeria in one of the guest rooms with reassurance they can contact him or anyone else should they need anything during his stay. Yes? What? I'm being meowed at. Do you want to stay in here or do you want me to let you out? No, just give me a moment. Come on. and I knocked my headphones on the floor. Okay, that was our youngest cat, and she's our most talkative. In their new quarters, Nightmare contemplates why their father left them in the stasis cube, as well as everything they lost in the process. They eventually fall asleep, thinking they will look up their old crew and find out. Chapter 2. As Nightmare begins to settle in, they learn more about the crew members working on the ship. They spend a morning meal with the crew for the first time. Then during a walk to the fridge, MC reveals to Asher and Daz that they didn't enjoy their time on Valea and didn't feel they fit there. And this assumes, of course, that you asked about Asher. So sitting next to Asher at the staff meeting, Nightmare is then shown to a room by him in the way. As Nightmare asks for Asher's backstory during the walk to the bridge, they learned that he stowed away on the ship when he was 16 and was caught by the previous captain, who taught him how to use his abilities as a virtuoso. Asher reveals that he was an orphan and that the previous captain took him under her wing after finding him. Upon reaching the bridge, Nightmare has a private conversation with Phil where he offers him a temporary job with the potential of becoming permanent. They are initially reluctant but choose to accept his offer. And there's a cat at my door, and I bet you anything it's Patches. I opened the door and she left. After the talk with Noel, Nightmare has a conversation with the bridge crew, revealing why Villains were reluctant to share their technology with others. They revealed that a past experience with a race called the Steamberry caused Villains to retreat to their space and cut ties with other species. During this conversation, there are more allusions to the fact the gate system is deteriorating. Afterwards, Nightmare walks to their room, accompanied by Rafe and Uren. They learn the crew has a habit of picking up strays who then join the crew. Rafe and Uren ask if they intend to stay permanently, but they indicate they aren't sure yet. And whose backstory? Uren. This is why I take notes. Nightmare asks about Uren. They learn that he grew up on a colony world that was destroyed by an asteroid. Having lost everything once before, he believes that losing things means you sometimes gain things as well, and it's important to value the things you gain. Sometime later, Nightmare is ruminating on their place on the ship. They realize they are feeling a more profound attachment than they should and wonder about a Valayan concept called Nashir, which is a concept revolving around something like soulmates or groups of souls that meet each other repeatedly across lifetimes. They wonder if this is why they are feeling an attachment to the crew, and one person in particular. Trying to push it from their mind, they receive a tour of the ship from one of the crew members. Oh, I didn't write down who gave him the tour. I think it was Asher, because Asher arrives to give Nightmare a tour of the ship. Nightmare learns a bit more about what the affiliate does as well as the company they work for. They reveal to Asher that they felt they couldn't go into a specific field due to how they received their education. They also discuss the possibility of Asher as a virtuoso, including contact telepathy, and that Valayan seeded the galaxy with virtuosos in the first place. There's a fair amount of casual flirting, and Asher finally invites Nightmare to the game night in the rec room that evening. After parting ways, Nightmare muses that they are definitely getting very attached to these people. It worries them and gives them mixed feelings about the fact that their father orchestrated their arrival to the Ophelia. Despite this, Nightmare decides they will go to the rec room as invited, preparing to let go of the past and try to move forward. MC meets for the first time Kavisari Tiane, the ship's xenotech expert as well as an errand boy for the lab gremlins. They learn Cav is immune to telepathy and cannot communicate with them unless MC does so verbally. After a quick breakfast with Cav and some of the others, MC heads to the bridge with Daz and Gates where they discuss how well MC is settling in on the ship. MC assures them that they're settling in okay. Once on the bridge, a routine black hole dive takes a turn for the worse when the crew touches a dimensional loop, an unfamiliar phenomenon that only MC has ever heard of, though they aren't sure how to escape it. With their path outside, the black hole destroyed, and the ship in imminent danger, MC catches a look into the past to see if they can locate the crew's lost world lights. They are successful, though they feel something may have noticed them on the way out. The ship escapes, and they leave a warning beacon to prevent others from meeting their almost terrible fate. MC goes up to the bridge to get a view of the stars, but is joined there by Cab. He once again seems to attempt to pick a fight with MC, showing something of a lack of trust for them. They have a short talk, and Cab seems to be a little more comfortable with them by the time they part ways for the evening. Later, MC wakes from an uncomfortable nightmare, which results in an episode of sleep paralysis they are eventually able to shake off. They leave their room, decide to have an early start, but believe they are having auditory and visual hallucinations. There is no one and nothing nearby, and MC eventually encounters other crew members on their way to the galley, where they are hoping to have breakfast and start their day. Chapter 4. As the ship travels to its next assignment, a survey of a super terra they detected, MC and Daz have been tasked with cataloging the belayed items in the cargo hold and sorting them based on use and whether they are dangerous. MC finds themselves confused by the items and their purpose, wondering if their father put specific items for their own use in there, particularly after they located an item that would have been useful during the dimensional loop incident. As they're going through the items alone, they come across a small box that contains some of their personal belongings. These items throw them off, and they have to navigate some surprisingly raw emotions as they look through them. Daz finds them, and the two continue to work. They're later potentially interrupted by one of the other crew members. Cab arrives to the cargo hold, claiming he has finally decided to stop by and look at the items since people keep badgering him to do so. He seems largely unimpressed with it all and makes several scathing remarks about MC's father and the Archaean. As they talk, he locates a hidden data prism in the cube after remarking the cube isn't all that big. When he sees that MC is upset over the message from their father, he actively comforts them, encouraging them to consider ejecting it and all the items into space, which the MC refuses. He tells them it's time to stop for the day, and the MC agrees. They part ways shortly after. After finishing up in the hold, the MC ends up in the rec room going through the data prisms they found with Daz, some of which they learn how to lay in star charts. They discuss the possibility of translating them and adapting them for use by the crew. They just need to be organized first. As they work, they are potentially interrupted by one of the crew members, whoever they spoke to in the hold earlier, who encourages them to stop working for the day. MC agrees and ends their day with a walk and a conversation with their chosen companion for the evening, or else goes to their room alone as they speak to no one. Crew of the ship goes to a final surface mission assignment before leaving the Super Terra. The goal is to run some final scans and simply spend some time off the ship for a change. MC chooses to go with one character specifically based on player choice. While on the Super Terra, MC and Cav are taking detailed scans of the topology and underground water sources. While they work, they discuss the fall of the civilization from the planet, somewhat fixing over the topic as they talk. Eventually, as they wait for one scan to finish, Cav asks the MC about their homeworld, and MC responds by suggesting they were viewed as somewhat of a troublemaker and misfit. The Valais society was perfectly curated, and they didn't fit in with that well. During this moment, a potential scenario plays out where Cav reveals that his people were impacted by the Nastrana during the Vim Aradio, that his people remember what was done to them, and that he disliked Valais because of it, and had recognized MC's heritage right away. MC feels guilty, but when Cav reveals he's glad he gave MC a chance, MC feels that the air between them has been cleared. They are interrupted when other teams wish to rendezvous back at their shuttle. During this discussion, MC inadvertently reveals that their telepathic range is much further than line of sight or the size of the ship, which surprises everyone. Cav warns MC that they may want to avoid showing off like that again. They and Cav begin the hike back to where the shuttle is waiting for all the nearby teams. Before leaving the planet, MC is accosted by strange shadows they refer to as the Veil, which they claim live in the past and may have noticed their attempt to save the crew from the dimensional loop some days prior. MC is left shaken, but there seems to be no long-term consequences for the time being, and the crew is able to leave the planet safely. Back on the ship, the MC explains the situation to Noel before the team spend a brief stint in the decontamination chamber. They discuss the upcoming layover at Aether Station while they wait for the program to run. Later that evening, in the rec room, the MC attempts to distract himself from work before potentially being approached by the love interest they once went to the planet with. They have a range of discussions depending on player choice, but they may discuss their potential relationship developments. Alternately, the MC goes for a walk by themselves. Either way, at one point the MC has a strange encounter with either a mysterious blue-eyed person or a mysterious silver-eyed person. During this encounter, the MC is pulled into the Anam, a sort of thought space used for longer-distance telepathic communication. MC is not keen to speak to this person and rejects their attempts to make contact. This, combined with the situation with the Veil, convinces the MC that their main problem is their not having maintained their mental shield, which they resolve to fix before the chapter's end. While surveying a protoplanetary disk, the Ophelia detects another ship, which turns out to be a damaged vessel from the Nexus Guild. They move to assist and determine they will be spending several days helping with repairs. Excuse me. I need to... Oh, I still have... Okay. I'm grabbing a cough drop. MC individually discusses the situation with each love interest, noting how uncommon it is to see another UC ship this far out in the depths. The MC ultimately decides they are likely to avoid interactions and focus on rounding up the minor repairs that have been left on the Ophelia rather than help with the repairs of the NEX Aglaia. While working on these repairs, MC has a close encounter with a crew member of the Aglaia, notices a Valayan medical device accidentally left in the open in the infirmary. MC must craft a quick cover story, but the incident leaves Laren shaken, so MC thinks little of it. They note this crew member didn't seem suspicious, and they are used to having to cover up their Valayan heritage. However, as the ships are preparing to go their separate ways, MC finds Basil, another crew member from the Aglaia, snooping in the cargo hold where some remaining Valayan items still reside. Player response varies from confronting him directly to finding a less overt way to interrupt his snooping. After they meet, Basil asks pointed questions about MC's heritage, which sets them on edge. They note they seem suspicious rather than merely curious like the other crew member, something that triggers deep discomfort for them. Depending on player choices, MC responds in various ways that lead down varying paths. Settled by the encounter, MC expresses their confusion over Basil's suspicion of them to their love interest or else to Laren and Grace. There's not much to be done about it at this point, and the ships part ways peacefully. The incident with Basil left just an uncomfortable footnote to an otherwise positive-seeming interaction. The bridge crew discussed some warnings Captain Veda of the Aglaia left with Noel before parting. An uptick of raider activity and inflows in a mysterious group called the Entente, who are lurking around mean the crew will have to be especially careful on their way back to the mainland. They have no choice but to resume course to be very careful for the rest of their journey. The chapter closes with MC and the love interest discussing how close they are to being home and what it means for them all. They all acknowledge they are glad the journey is nearly complete and they are looking forward to their upcoming brief stay at Aether Station. Chapter 7. MC starts their day feeling rested and noting that the nightmares may be receding as life aboard the Ophelia settles into routine. The ship is finally unequivocally heading back to their final stop before the trip calms. However, on their walk to the mess hall, they have a conversation with other crew members about uptick in raider activity through the inflow meridians, which has caused Noel and some of the others to be on edge. MC learns the Defense Guild has disbanded the stewardship of the inflows to a primarily vigilante group referred to as the Sentinels. With the ship now passing through this dangerous region, the others are hoping to make it through without accident. During breakfast, Asher arrives in a state of exhaustion, causing Noel to suspect the ship will have to remain in the inflows longer as Asher recovers. Life goes on as others continue about their daily tasks. Asher, with an MC that's romancing him, is adorable. Just saying. The calm continues for a few more days, but is shattered when the ship is attacked and boarded by raiders known as the Hazar Clad. The crew comes through alright and is able to escape with minimal losses, minor damage, and 2 captured raiders in tow. MC later questions the captains, probing them regarding how they knew about the ship and MC's presence on it, as they were targeting the Valayan items, and one raider seemed to recognize the MC. The raiders revealed they were hired by a client based on intercepted rumors of Archaean technology. This information is spread through dark channels due to earlier leaked messages from just after the crew originally found MC. Raiders confess that multiple factions, including the Nexus Guild, are desperately seeking some sort of artifact and that the MC may not be able to continue hiding for much longer. MC later reveals to Noel that the ship's prior encounter with the Aglaia may have been a setup for this attack, but the crew has no choice but to continue to leave this station and hope for the best during the rest of their journey. During the first day prior to the attack, MC and Cab part ways after breakfast so to meet up for a repair in one of the maintenance shafts. As they work, MC knows Cab uses the Valayan tool without needing to ask how it works, but dismisses his knowledge of it as part of his work with the Xenotech. They briefly discuss the crew and his attachment to them. During the moment, they nearly kiss, but are interrupted by Daz, who convinces them both. During the raider attack, MC encounters Cab in the corridor while intending to ambush a boarding party in the cargo hold. They eventually are forced to engage in combat with the intruders. MC, during the fight, chooses to rip a wall panel from the wall with their telekinesis to defend against and incapacitate the raiders. However, Cab intervenes, revealing he can use telekinesis more proficiently than the MC. Seeing this, MC instantly realizes they've missed something incredibly significant about him. Yeah, no duh. After the raiders flee, MC brushes Cav's hair away from his left eye, revealing that he is Bland. MC is frustrated and angry and uses his psionic abilities to incapacitate the remaining raiders on the rest of the ship, resulting in 2 deaths. When Cav attempts to scold them, they confront him about his having hidden his identity. The 2 part ways with MC feeling lied to. That evening, after MC's talks with Noel and Gage, Cav arrives at MC's room to talk. He shares more of his backstory. His homeworld was destroyed by the Nostrana and he lost everything. MC confesses they aren't mad that he got a secret, but were upset that they can no longer be sure they know him as well as they thought they were starting to. They talk through their feelings and ultimately kiss as Cav removes his telepathy suppressor. Cav leaves MC to rest, knowing he has to tell the truth to everyone else as well now. MC spends time rebuilding their mental shields before finally resting as the ship continues towards Aether Station. Chapter 8. After the recent battle with the raiders, the protagonist and crew prepare to dock at Aether Station. Noel confirms with MC that they want to meet with Shuru and takes him there first. During the discussion with Shuru, MC learns that various factions have been seeking for the Starway, also called the Celestial Web, an ancient wormhole network spanning the galaxy. Meanwhile, Voyants are inexplicably on the move again as well, though it's unclear what their motivations are. The Guilds and Entente seem determined to locate the Starway. I keep wanting to say Stairway. It is hinted that the MC's father may have left behind something crucial related to the Starway or whatever other events are going on. After the conversation, the MC tours the station with their love interest. While doing so, they encounter a wandering Valayan who further hints to MC that they are carrying something that will make life difficult. MC and the love interest retreat to the ship to spend time together. On the ship, Cav and MC discuss his past, and he reveals that after losing his students, he went on a rampage hunting down remaining Nostranas still lurking in the galaxy, gaining a reputation as a sort of bounty hunter. It took years for him to recover, and he joined the crew when he recognized Asher and Rick as his mates here. An intimate moment ensues where Cav reveals his shattered Vector and Spinal imply. The crew goes for a night out at a club in Aether Station, celebrating MC's joining the crew and the start of the romantic relationship they're all now aware of between MC and the love interest. MC and the love interest have a brief moment of flirting before the night concludes. The following day, MC returns to the station looking for the Wanderer, but instead encounters J.A.N., the person who's been watching them since they first awakened. He informs them that they both have the key to the Starway and maybe are the key. MC flees and there's a tense confrontation with J.A.N. and the ally before he retreats. Upon reaching the ship, MC learns they are leaving early as they are aware people on the station are looking for them. MC goes to the room to search for this key, unsure what it is, and if it's maybe something stored in their items. While they're looking, they are interrupted by the love interest who can see they are upset and tries to comfort them. The conversation is interrupted by a call to the bridge. J.A.N. has found the crew and once again asks MC to go with him. Things look grim when a Valayan ship pulls out and chases J.A.N.'s ship off. Chapter 9. Savari Agashe, an extra-strana general, visits the Ophelia. He reveals a great deal of information about the MC situation. MC's father, Elion, before he left, placed the Yencheli, Valayan control code inside the protagonist's mind. It activates the Starway, grants access to the sealed Valayan homeworld, and is implied to have other functions. Various factions, guilds, Entente, and seek to control or suppress it, but all groups have varying information on what it is and where it is. Savaria leaves, claiming he will allow the MC to choose what to do. MC spends time alone trying to process what they've been told, while the others try to reach Palmyra 4 as quickly as possible. The protagonist awakens from a disturbing dream linked to J.N. They notice a message prism left by the father and decide what to do with it. It's by player's choice. They flee their room in frustration and encounter their ally in a variety of locations. Cav finds MC in a maintenance shaft, and the two discuss mutual frustration at Savare and his arrival. MC expresses concern for Cav and then for the rest of the crew. He tries to calm their fears and give them a reason to look forward to the arrival on Palmyra 4, since they will feel less vulnerable there. He reluctantly returns to the lab for work. Days pass without new attacks or sightings of J.A.N. Savari is lurking and keeps J.A.N. off their backs. The crew assumes normal life as much as possible, though all are looking forward to arrival at Palmyra. Phew. Okay. I wouldn't have read all of those, except I hadn't been doing the recaps. For the next few, for the rest of the streams, I'll just do the recap for the previous chapter. Okay. Cav? Kindle me into fire. Chapter 10. Okay, there it is. Now to the actual new content. Landing and docking went smoothly, though Noel had told me I could help Daz at his station. I had little to do. Daz let me push some buttons and monitor some readings, but it's all just an excuse to get me out of my quarters. Maybe to reinforce that I was a part of the crew, for better or for worse. Which I knew already anyway, but I appreciated the sentiment. When the procedure was complete, Noel ushered me out of the bridge for us to prepare to disembark. He wanted to talk to me after I disembarked, so I was to go get my things first and wait for him just outside. Cav had said he'd meet me as soon as we docked, but reached out over my communication device to tell me he'd find me after I was done with Noel. It's something to tie up in the labs. For a long moment, I wondered if that was literal, because with Cav, you could never tell. I decided not to ask, just in case. I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of tentative relief that we'd made it as I headed my way back to my room. Besides my single bag, I grabbed an old-fashioned voice synthesizer I'd received from Cav earlier, an old one he no longer used. It resembled a simple black choker, and it would let me speak verbally with less effort, so I could avoid using too much telepathy. Whee! I'm looking at Will, or Robin. I forget what name I gave them. Sending short-range messages wouldn't be a problem, but given that we knew the Nexus Guild and others might be looking for me, avoiding questions about the voice may be best for now. With that, it was time to disembark and find Noel. I got out to the hangar, pausing to take in the place. It wasn't like I could get a feel for an entire planet just by closing my eyes and listening a bit. But I could catch brief glimpses, I suppose. The busyness, the crowds of people, snatches of thought and conversation, warm, hurried, angry, stressed. It was just like any city, a little different from Major Station though, where it felt like all the thoughts gathered and bounced around together inside. Here I could feel the broadness of the sky outside, and the endless swirling minds and paths. I let out a long breath, once again feeling relieved to be in a place I could truly let myself melt into and hide a little. I waited just outside the ship for a while, wondering when Cav would finish up. Noel hadn't appeared yet. Idly I watched the dock workers passing by, shouting to each other and ignoring my presence. I didn't have to wait much longer before Noel came to find me, though. I assumed whatever he needed to tell me had to do with re-establishing my identity or something related to that. He exited the ship, a small display in his hand, and when our eyes met, he headed straight towards me. I tipped my head to the side, curious. He seemed pleased? He was smiling slightly when he reached me. What's going on? It looks like Jamie and I had the same idea about your status. She's been vague out of necessity, but what I gather is that Nexus might already be sniffing around our cargo. And when Jamie realized that, she decided it would be best to get things arranged in advance of our arrival. She doesn't have all the information about the situation yet, but she's a smart lady. I admit the radio silence from me also probably clued her in that we were dealing with something serious. It's unusual for me to not get frequent updates. Anyway, the Nexus Guild activity seems like it might have caught the eye of the Exploration Guild. Their Deep Space Commission Board is going to be doing an audit of R&J. The cover story is that it's to make sure they're properly reporting their deep space finds. Jamie thinks there's more to it. I don't think I've mentioned it, but R&J sponsored 5 ships. The Ophelia is just one of them. I was aware of that, yes. The Ophelia, the Cressida, and the Antipholus are all due back here around the same time, so doing some sort of audit is pretty convenient right now. So now 2 guilds were involved. That couldn't be good. I found out that around 3 months ago there was a semi-public acknowledgement of efforts to locate the Starway. It's been known in some circles for a while, but this was the first time information about it was publicly discussed. Information was kept to a minimum, though. But the announcement was a joint effort by the Nexus, Navigation, and Exploration Guilds. What minimal information went public? Just that they'd found an ancient galactic transport system and were attempting to locate its origin. It's possible the Nexus Guild hasn't informed the others about our cargo, but because I don't see a need for the DSC to do a full audit of R&J unless they don't know what ship has something interesting aboard. I almost said another word entirely instead of ship. Or what that interesting thing could be. It'd be a lot easier to target our ship for contraband or something. Ugh. Hey, it's not a big deal. Despite that there might be ulterior motives for this one, they run audits like this all the time on companies like R&J. This isn't our first by a long shot. The good news is that they can't just up and do an audit. These things take time to organize. It'll be weeks before they could get their hands on our manifest. Point is, Jamie took it as a reason to maybe help you get situated a little faster. It's planning on doing it anyway, but thanks to her, we had a head start. Alright, so what is there left to take care of? Well, a while ago, Jamie did some searching to try to find you in the system, so to speak. There's my pencil. Where's my pencil? Where'd you go? There it is. Under stuff. Did she even have enough information to do that? I didn't tell her much, but yeah, I guess she did. The last time we had a conversation mentioned where you're from and the last trip you were on, so she could check based on that. I see, I didn't realize he told her that much about me. We still didn't know anyone was listening back then, and well, sorry Lane, but I needed to verify you after you told us who you are. Lane, that's right. I mean, that's fair enough, I suppose, but that means everyone else knows who I am too. Yeah, well, they didn't think to do anything with it, I guess, and that information was all Jamie needed. I guess when things started to heat up here, she reckoned she'd take some initiative and start revising your identity. She figured it would be best to not have a delay in getting you reinstated. Thrust the data pad in his hand at me. Just needs your authentication at this point. Took the display from him, looking down at it with interest, a frown crossing my face as I read. Wait, what? I assumed some of that's to do with your father's intervention, of course. Was this really in my record? You didn't know? No, how would I? I was fine to look it up when we got here. And why didn't you question me about this? It contradicts what I told you about what happened. Well, by the time Jamie found all this, it was after the incident with the dimensional loop. I kind of felt you'd proved yourself already. Figured the records may have been changed after the fact. I know you searched up your old ship records. Did you not see what they said about how you went missing? You knew about that? Ship logs do record that sort of thing. I just assumed you'd seen this at the time, so there's no need to mention it to you. You're a cat. Okay. It didn't even occur to me to check if that info was available, honestly. At the time, I just assumed they said I'd gone missing or something. I was looking to see what happened to them, not what they claimed happened to me. Later on, I did realize I need to see what the official story was. I guess I assumed my father would have completely wiped the Valayan encounter. Hell, for all I knew, he wiped me from existence. I didn't expect he'd make up an entire story about a shuttle mission. Another incredulous laugh escaped. The emergency pods in the shuttle were capable of inducing cryostasis in case immediate rescue was impossible, so that covers my long-term stasis. I don't know if it's less annoying or more annoying that he thought of that, too. With the information in your records, we were able to fabricate enough of a story about how we found you to pass muster. Right now, the only people who even suspect you're Valayan or that you have anything to do with the items in our cargo hold are related to the guild situation, and they don't have proof. No one else has to know we rescued you out of that black hole in a Valayan stasis cube. We stuck close enough to the truth that it should be fine for official records, and if they try to pull something, well, now you at least exist in the system. I swallowed hard, staring down at an old identity profile that had me listed as presumed dead. Hang on. What? She's back. And purring away. What? I'm in the middle of something. You realize that, right? Are you doing happy paws on my leg? No, don't chew that. Come on. On my bed. No! She wants back in my lap. I'm surprised Jamie was able to get this far in this process without my help. She has a lot of friends, Lane. She's been in this job a long time. Let's just say she called in some favors. Do you think she'd go so far for someone she didn't even know? Even with my father's cover story, it's going to be hard to explain how an emergency stasis pod managed to survive 5 centuries in deep space. Oh, what is it? Oh. You okay? She's having a coughing fit. I'll be very mad if you cough up a hairball on my blanket. You doing okay? Okay, she's fine. Jamie says the longest record recorded is 378, so it's not impossible. I had a feeling this may just be a stopgap measure if anyone was particularly curious about me. Especially when some people knew the truth and presumably had the comm records to prove it. Of course, I did have to admit they were sneaking around listening in on private communications. And I didn't think the Nexus Guild wanted to repeal that, not to mention that we could counter with the radar attacks, which they wouldn't want to be made public. Right, I guess this would have to do. I was able to authenticate the documentation with a bioregister. In my case, a retinal scan. So this should go through pretty much immediately. And you're an official UC citizen again. I hope you don't need that fact as a shield to resolve any of this, but it's good to be prepared. You sure you want to stay in here? He's still coughing a bit. Do you want back out? I'm not sure how much that will mean. In the end, it really stops anyone who wants to trample someone else or use them somehow. But I appreciate Jamie looking out for me. She's like that. You'll see when you meet her, as I'm sure you will before we set out again. Assuming I could go with them, of course. That was very far in the future. A lot of uncertainty between now and then. I was trying to push that out of my mind for the time being, though. Jamie also secured a spot for you to stay. It's a nice place near me. Not a hotel, just a room they let out sometimes. He shot me a lopsided grin and eyebrows going up. There was a faint undercurrent of teasing in his voice. Unless you've made other arrangements, of course. Not officially yet, but I'm sure we both know where you'll be staying. He handed me a CNC card with a thin blue light strip across the top. It's tied to an account owned by R&J for now. Couldn't get you set up with one until your identity was restored. It has a small amount of funds in it you can use freely. I'm sure Cav will take good care of you, but it's always better to have something, just in case. Look, I have a couple of last minute things to wrap up here. I'll send Cav out to you. Don't want you waiting out here alone. Thanks, Noel. I really appreciate, well, everything. You want back out? Come on. Wrong direction. That's not the door. No. Come on. You're being a silly, not settling down. Go on. I dumped her out again. I love her, but not when I'm in the middle of something. No problem at all. You know that. We'll be in touch. And with that, he returned to the ship. Cav and I really hadn't settled on whether I'd stay with him, but I was pretty confident he would offer. It would be unlike him to insist, but I didn't intend to make him have to either. He sauntered out only a few minutes after Noel went back inside, that sly smirk on his face as usual. "Hey, sorry to keep you waiting out here all by your lonesome." "No problem. Did you tie up whatever you needed?" "I did. Put it under the floor panels in the lab. Anyway, want to head to my place where I know you are just dying to kick back and hang out for the duration of our stay on this lovely planet?" "Not even going to ask, eh?" "Do I need to ask?" "No." "Didn't think so." He started to lead me from the underground hangar to the street level. I live pretty close by, within walking distance, so unless you're just not feeling a walk in the autumn air, we don't need to bother with a cab. "I think a walk in the autumn air will be nice." Hang on. Let's go back super quick. I want to be able to get to that scene quicker in the future. "Is there a reason you live so close by here?" Yes, a cab-style answer if I'd ever heard one. Moments later, we stepped outside, and for a moment I just paused to look around what was visible of the city. Wow. That's pretty cool. It was unremarkable as far as cities went. Well, unremarkable in the sense that it was just a normal city without any standout features, but it had been a while since I was surface side. Shut my eyes and took a regrettable breath of city air that I enjoyed despite it tasting like dingy city grime. Cab set a hand on my back and guided me down a footpath and away from the hangar. "How's the voice modulator, by the way? Been putting it to use?" Set my hand on the device he'd given me before we landed. "It's fine. I'm so surprised you had one of these on hand." Kept it because I used to have an older implant that tended to give me a lot of trouble. When it needed maintenance, I'd wear that. Spent a lot of years avoiding occupant. Funny how painful it was, a reminder of a legacy I was trying to outrun. Language. Several. Occupant is a universal name for Valayan telepathic speech, though the name may vary slightly across Valayan languages. It is roughly the same across all the ones currently in use. I only used it when I had to in those years. Hell, before you and I met, it had been decades. Funny how using it again feels like coming home. Anyway, that's a little too deep for a walk home on a busy footpath. That thing on your neck isn't uncomfortable? The vibration when I speak feels weird, but it's fine. We could probably get away with you not using it, but all things considered, it feels safer to converse like everyone else for the time being. Yeah. And to answer your question earlier, I live nearby because when I first got here, I thought it was just another stopping point. I had been so long since anywhere felt like home. I just grabbed a cheap place that was close by the port for convenience. Didn't think I'd need anything else or stay all that long. He shot me a grin as we walked. Then it grew on me, like mushrooms or something. Seems like things have a habit of doing that. I hope that isn't a reference to me, thank you very much. I would never ill-dimmer. You better not be calling me a mushroom right now. So from the way he was laughing, I knew that's exactly what he was doing. Of course! Why wouldn't he? Couldn't even be mad. I could plot revenge, though. What kind of revenge? I wasn't sure, but I'd figure it out. Cav and I walked quietly for a while, and I took the time to stare up at the tall buildings, the vehicles passing overhead, and at ground level, the crowds. All of it. Just taking in everything. I love that there's people in the background. Like, they're just silhouettes, but there's actually people there. It's not just empty. It gives them life to it. And it makes it stand out from, like, the planet that we visited, where we did the survey. Cabot said that it was autumn, and I could feel it. That fake chill and dampness as night fell. Beyond the skyline of buildings, the sky was dark and heavy with clouds. I couldn't help but wonder how cold it got here during winter. Did it snow? Rain frequently? I very much hoped I'd get to find out. Where I live, it just gets cold. We don't really get much rain, let alone snow. But where I live is basically in the rain shadow of mountains. So to the west of us, I'm pointing that direction even though you can't see me. To the west of us, we live near LA, but there's mountains in between us and LA. So the mountains, what happens is there's clouds and stuff that gather on the ocean and come inland. But when they get to the mountains get all the precipitation from the clouds. So any clouds that get over the mountains don't really have much precipitation left and usually just evaporate. So that's what they mean by rain shadow. When it started to rain on us, I was somehow unsurprised. It went from a few scattered droplets that didn't even register as rain to an all-out downpour in just a few seconds. The sound, and then of course the visual effects of rain. We did have rain for a solid week, and it wasn't heavy rain, it was just constant. And of course, I had to go to work in the rain. And the thing is, I don't like driving in rain. I don't like driving in night. I was working night shift at work, and then it was raining, so I had to drive in the rain at night. Not fun. Half the pedestrians behind the footpath scattered and the other half hunched over and kept walking. The problem with driving in the rain at night is sometimes the lights would shine on the street, and between that and the water from the rain, it made it hard to see the actual lines for the different lanes. In the areas where I lived, that wasn't a problem. I knew where the lines were. But when I would get near work, I didn't know the streets as well, so I wasn't quite sure where the lanes started and stopped. So that was the challenge. But I got it figured out, obviously, so I'm still here. We were in the latter group. Cab laughed and grabbed my arm as we started to walk faster. Even when the rain turned into a wall of water pouring onto us, I was impressed by the ones who refused to run for shelter. I also didn't mind getting caught in the rain with Cav, but it was pretty cold this time around. Yeah, it happened before on the planet that we did the survey. At least on that we were able to hide under the trees. But Cav couldn't really hear us because it had the telepathy blocker on. He broke into a semi-jog at one point, leading me through the accumulating puddles and down a narrow alley that provided only a little shelter from the downpour. Fortunately, as he said, he lived pretty close by, only a few streets away. Even so, we were drenched by the time we arrived. Or, I was, anyway. I didn't have the heavy coat Cav had, but I assumed that kept his clothes drier than mine were. He led me to a door that was tucked away at the front of another alley, then up narrow stairs to his flat. Make yourself at home. New glossary entry. Cav shedded his heavy jacket, haphazardly hanging it by the door before he headed to the kitchen, the small box that had been outside under the overhang when we arrived. Oh. I forgot to put my phone on silent. Okay, now it's on silent. I stood in the entrance and almost without thinking touched a hand to my breastbone as I dipped my head down. When I looked back up, Cav was watching me, surprise on his face. I flushed and looked away, realizing that in that instant what I'd done. I did live on the homeworld for a while. It became a habit. You don't have to explain yourself to me, Nalo. It's just a surprise, that's all. I peeled off my jacket, leaving it dripping next to Cav's as I inched further inside. What's that box? I called in advance to make sure we'd have food. You can imagine the place is usually empty when we get back. I watched him open the box and rifle inside for an invoice. My gaze was drawn from him to everything else. I smiled a little at how cluttered and chaotic it was. Okay, now we can look. It definitely has that lived-in feeling. Like, he clearly doesn't really try to be neat, and I like the flints outside and the raindrops on the window. And it's even got a skylight. Nice. The bed isn't even made. It did somehow feel like him. In spite of the mess, I suspected he knew exactly where everything was and was the sort who wouldn't be able to find anything the moment he tried to clean it up. it me. You know, part of it is the ADHD. I put something away a while back, and then I went looking for it later. Could not find it. The other day, I went looking for something else entirely. It was a picture I wanted to show my mom. I did not find the picture, but I found the thing that I put away and then couldn't find. I had put it away in a box that I hadn't realized that I'd forgotten I put it in. So I put it where I would find it again. But that is typical ADHD happenings. You put something away to keep it safe and then forget where you put it and then can't find it when you go looking for it. And then when you go looking for something else entirely that's not even related to that item you're looking for, you find the item that you were looking for that you put in a safe spot. Lane, you're looking like a half-drowned Cheyenne over there. I didn't realize how wet you got on the way here. It's a Samirish word for a large rat-like rodent. Would that be like RUS size or womp rat size? Because womp rats, basically, if you, in Star Wars, they're talking about the size of the shaft that they were trying to get and their torpedoes into, and they described it as being 3 meters across. 3 meters is basically 6 feet. No, not 3 meters, 2 meters. 2 meters is basically 6 feet. So, and Luke says that he targets womp rats at home and they're not much bigger. Or not much smaller or something like that. And basically he's saying these womp rats are not quite 6 feet long. ROUSs, as depicted in the Princess Bride movie, which was basically a little person in a fursuit, are smaller than that. So I should go have a shower and warm up while I cook. I could just caught that smirk on his face and rolled my eyes. I know, go have a shower, slip my bag off my shoulder and rummage for my vault. I just carried the whole thing with me as I headed towards the door Cab pointed to. At the very least, I did need to get out of the wet clothes, but I could have survived with just a towel. But half showers sounded good too at this point. I would love a shower after getting caught in the rain like that and getting soaked through. I didn't know what a Cheyenne was, but I did look sort of like a bedraggled street cat. This is a pretty nice bathroom, all things considered. A little dim for my taste, but it looks pretty nice. The hair I'd have to get dry as best as I could. I took the time to get it up out of the way before the shower. I shed my wet clothes and started the water on hot enough to help me warm up. My toes went numb straight away, then felt like they were burning as they thawed out. The shower was glorious, though. I could have stayed in it for the better part of an hour. But Cab was waiting and he could use a hot shower too, so I decided to be good and not stay too long before regretfully shutting off the water and hopping out. I changed into something warm and dry before cleaning up the mess I'd made and going to see what Cab was up to. He was already elbow deep in cooking dinner when I joined him again. For a moment I stood in the door of the bathroom watching him as he cooked. His hair was tied up, his back to me, and it was just so hilariously domestic that I felt incongruent with what I knew about him. My heart fluttered and a soft smile came to my face. I wanted to keep watching him longer, but he looked over his shoulder at me as he put a lid on a cooking container of some kind. I'm going to go for a quick shower. Keep an eye on it while I'm gone. No problem. Don't let it burn, Nalo. I will make you eat all of it if you do. I won't burn your precious food, I promise. He slipped past me on his way to the bath, touching my face and leaning in for a surprise kiss on his way. Aww. I bit my lip as the door closed behind him, still unable to get the stupid smile off my face. From what I could see, I didn't actually have to babysit the food. It was in some kind of field of plants anyway, so that was just him being facetious. Instead, I perched on the edge of his sofa to wait and study his place more carefully, but I resisted the urge to poke around. Oh, I would have to resist that urge too. I'm always curious. Even when I play video games, like FF14 or World of Warcraft, I end up wandering a bit, and I ended up wandering so far in World of Warcraft, I ended up wandering into an area that was quite a few levels above my own, so of course I died. But with FF14, it's a bit harder to do that, especially with the expansions. With the expansions, they basically lock you out of the higher level zones until you get to a certain point in the story where you access them. So you have to access them organically. You have to actually play through the story content. So that by the time you can access the zones freely, you're basically max level anyway. But you still have to be careful. I thought it felt very him earlier, but that was just a messy decor. Despite having been gone months, his presence permeated the place, of course. And there's a cat again. I'm not sure which one. It's my cat. I see your tail. He's on the other side of the bed. There he is. Hi. I have a thing on my door to let my family know that not to come in, and so the cats have learned that playing with it, batting it with their paws, will get my attention. It radiated from every corner, gentle, sharp, soft, and lonely, yet content. I never knew contentment could feel so gut-wrenching and sad, but it had been that content with such precious little to hold on to. My being here was probably so much more meaningful than him entering my space on the ship had been for me, because this place was so much more his than that space was mine. It was more meaningful for me as well. I moved from the sofa to near the huge window to look outside. Hey! Shadow! Surprisingly good view for this place, so instead I shut my eyes and let myself linger in the feeling of him around me. I checked on his dinner once, but it was still in no danger of burning, so I returned to my place by the window. Cat wasn't in the shower long. I heard him come out, but didn't turn until I sensed him right behind me. Do you want to go back out already? When I did, he was already wrapping his arms around my waist. Our lips met again for a brief kiss before he pressed his face into me. Oh, he looked so comfy. There was a fire, Cab. Dinner went up in flames, turned to ash. I could do nothing but watch in despair. I felt him chuckle against my neck. I expected as much, to be honest. I'm surprised you didn't manage to burn the whole place down. But... go. Okay. Same. He gave me a quick squeeze before he left me to go check on whatever he was cooking. Continued to watch an amusement as he found dinnerware and cutlery. Should I offer to help? I had a feeling he'd say no, if willing to spite me, so I continued to watch. It wasn't until he brought everything to the sofa and coffee table because there was nowhere else to sit that I realized whatever he prepared wasn't something I recognized as filet. I don't know why I expected the food to be filet, especially given how long he'd been wandering anyway. But somehow I still had imagined something similar to what I'd eaten on the homeworld. I wasn't at all disappointed, but I was a little surprised when it was actually delicious. Cav was watching me as I tried what appeared to be some sort of brain. It had a wonderfully nutty aroma. It smelled spicy, but the taste was much more mild than I expected. Like it? It's wonderful. You don't have to say it like you're surprised. It would be weird if I was as old as I am and not at least somewhat decent at cooking. That would be a little weird, I guess, but once again I'm curious. Exactly how old are you? You still never told me your exact age. So, it didn't come up on the stream, but it is possible for you to ask Cab earlier how old he is, and he's like, I don't have any gray hair, how can I be old? And if you picked a lighter hair color for Nymera, you can make a comment along the lines of, well then how old do you think I am with my hair this color? Do you want out already? Oh, hey. Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna get some more water while I'm out too. Okay, sorry about the delay. Got distracted by my mom and also grabbed a little something to eat. That information is classified, my dear. At least 600 UC standard years, but a fair bit more, I'd assume. Something like UC standard years doesn't matter to people like us, does it? Getting distracted. Can't imagine why. You're right, of course. It only matters when you want to tease someone about maybe being a bit of an old man. I'm still quite young by Valea's standards, thank you. I suppose that when you think about it, we might not even have been born that far apart. Depends how you reckon far apart, I suppose. Then how do you reckon far apart? Probably different from most. My mentor had been around since the Galactic Dark Ages. Timescales like that just stamp your perspective on things. Two people born in the same millennium are practically the same age. I suspect a lot of people would disagree with you on that. Maybe, but a few centuries here and there don't mean shit in the long term. Not for us. So yeah, if you were in that box for 5 centuries, then I guess I'm not that much older than you by Valayan standards. I was just a kid back then. I can't imagine you as a kid at all. I was an adorable kid. I was just verging on my centennial when I opened my school, all bright-eyed, full of hope and dreams, and thinking of nothing more than helping others. I loved that work with my whole heart. That silky-haired bastard had no idea how fleeting happiness can be, even if he knew how easily the past can lie to you when others are manipulating them. Silky-haired, huh? Well, you know, back then I had to look the part. I have to admit that some of my teachers had surprisingly silky hair too, I suppose. I still really wish I could have met you back then. I don't know, you might take one look and be vastly more disappointed in how I ended up. I'm not remotely disappointed in how you ended up. I just can't help but wonder about the part of your life I never got to see. Same. I wonder a lot about that woman who felt so out of place on Valea and drove all her teachers mad. Probably would have driven you mad too. I don't know, sometimes the problem students were my favorite ones. Problem people sure as hell seem to be too. Hehehe. To be a silky-haired teacher with questionable tastes in women. He laughed quietly, and though it didn't seem to bother him to talk about the past, I decided to change the subject and move us away from that awkward topic. So, I'll be honest, I'm surprised your place is so small. I thought the crew was well paid, unless Palmyra is just that expensive. We're on to the cost of living in Sena? It's not a deep reason, Alan. I told you before. I didn't really think of it as a permanent place. When I first found the crew, I thought of that ship as being the closest thing to a home I had, so where I stayed when we were here was not an issue. I struggled to get attached to places like this for a long time anyway. Always felt like just waiting to have it taken away again. That's why I hopped around so much, ship to ship, station to station. I mean, Losos was founded by wanderers from the start, but it's different when you wander because you've lost everything than because you chose to give it all up. Anyway, I found the Ophelia and spent 2 months out in the deep with them. Thought I was home. Then we came here and I had to find a place. Landed here, spent a month, and then we were out in the depths again for 3 more. Then back here, then out, then back again, and finally out on the trip that led us to you. I didn't need more than a place to sleep at that point. But I like the city. I like it here. Can't help but wonder if you'll come to like it too. I hope so. My heart. But I admit that with you here, we may need a bigger place. Kind of a shame. I really like this one. I reckon it's small for 2 people. Maybe a little. I knew he'd not been on the ship all that long, and that they'd been out in the depths for a while. Sounded like they'd had a few short stopovers and trips prior to that. Based on that, it was probably not only a year and a half that he'd known them all. I set my mostly empty plate down and picked up the drink Cav had brought with it. I wasn't sure what it was either. Something fermented, but not alcoholic. He took a sip, casting another look his way. There was a sudden banging from the wall behind us. A strange groan, I thought it was. More banging. I looked at Cav, amusement on my face. What? I like having quirky neighbors. I don't think that's what's going on over there is a quirk. Not that I'm going to look and find out. He laughed and set his plate down, pulling me against him as he took the drink from my hand and set it aside as well. We could fight back by being just as quirky. I'm not sure I want to torment your neighbors that way, no matter how loud they are. So instead you're going to torment me by making me wait longer. Instead, you have such a devastating cruel streak, Lane. I'm not trying to make you wait. He took my hand, smiling a little as he traced his fingertips over my palm and slipped them between my fingers. But it's hard to feel your presence here tingling with mine and to not want to become even more entangled with you. Smooth doctor, wow! Then you act so nonchalant about being here that it makes me think it's just me. I wrapped my arms around his neck, letting his hair cascade over my fingertips. Cav shifted closer to me. I want to be with you, Lane. Do you know how long it's been since I've wanted that with anyone? Well, you are pretty old. He gave me a devious grin and pulled me fully onto his lap. Time is relative, which makes age relative. Stop being so obsessed with how old I am. but it's the most entertaining way to annoy you. I am currently preoccupied with far more entertaining things than annoying each other. I leaned down and pressed a soft kiss to his mouth. His hands resting on my waist, he pulled my body closer against him, a gesture at once teasing and needing. I kept his face in mine as he tilted it up. His long, ragged fringe was falling over his brow, and I reached to brush it aside. For a long moment I looked down into his mismatched eyes, one barely noticeable as cybernetic by the faint glow, the other silvery and dotted with starlight specks. I leaned down to brush a kiss to his forehead, then his lips again, letting my mouth linger against his. He sighed as my tongue lightly flicked over his. Maybe it was a sense of safety. Maybe it was something else. But this time, I didn't think either of us would stop. I could get lost in him forever. I wanted to. It was so very tempting and so very terrifying. So what that was, the message about there being a CG, I have, since I'm streaming, I have the settings for how much is shown to soft focus. So if it's incredibly racy, it will only show up in the gallery. And I think it will be blurred. If it's only a little spicy, then it'll show up here. We teetered on the brink of being so impossibly entangled it would be unclear where Lane began and Cap ended. Later, when he was curled over me, each breath flickering across my collarbone and the sounds of the city passing by outside, I thought, with some amusement, it was definitely better to have waited to not be on the ship to do that. I wonder if his neighbors felt that. Hopefully they didn't mind quirky people next door either. It had been a long time since I slept side by side with someone. I thought it would keep me awake to sense another person so close by. Instead, I was lulled to sleep by the rise and fall of Cav's even breathing. It might be an illusion, but I felt safe and content. I hoped that it would last. I awoke a while before Cav did. He was next to me, face meshed into his pillow, still sleeping. I imagine I must not have slept long if he was still resting, or maybe he'd been up at night some time after I slept. Most Relays slept intermittently throughout the day if they could, rather than for a long period at night. They tended to need a bigger stretch of sleep at night than most. But I could imagine Cav sleeping more of a typical Relayan schedule. He seemed the sort to like cat naps. I paused for a moment to gently move his hair off his forehead and admire that gentle sleeping expression before shifting out of bed as quietly as I could. I yawned and found my clothes from last night, wondering if having a shower would wake him up. Probably. I'd just wait until he got up then. I doubted he'd sleep much longer anyway. I allowed myself the space to wake up fully and get situated before my thoughts turned to anything more serious. I liked that switch from nighttime to daytime. Now that day had dawned, I thought maybe I should set up trying with more vigor to navigate my way through my mind to this key, wherever it was. I could potentially afford myself one evening a pleasant, very pleasant distraction and sleep to breathe in, but what could I say? I was impatient. Sometimes all you needed was a change in location to get a shift in perspective. So I found a comfortable place in which to sit, drew my legs up, and pondered the interior of my mind, as one did. I still didn't know what I was looking for, but I kept leaning towards a telepathic imprint of some sort. I mean, just the fact that it was the most annoying option to deal with was enough of a reason to suspect my father had gone that route. It would also explain why I couldn't find it easily. It would put it deep enough in my subconscious someone else would be able to just waltz up to me and take it. I doubted he'd have trusted my natural shields to protect it either. He would never put that much faith in me. In spite of how uselessly I've been failing around since waking up, I was pretty decent at telepathy. They called me a prodigy back on the homeworld, a lazy, useless genius who didn't apply herself. Back then, I just hadn't had the motivation. After working up here, I'd been out of sorts. Then waking up here, I'd been out of sorts. Then I was trying to be cautious, then I was out of sorts again. Okay, I was being haphazard. Even when I told myself I was trying, I knew better. I just didn't have the patience to put in my full effort. Just as my irritating father had noted years ago, my skills were held back by a marked reluctance to use them any more than necessary. Given they saw me that way, it surely meant that Elion wouldn't have made this key easy to find or get rid of. But I was damn well going to try on the finding part. Getting rid of it? Well, we'd obliterate that bridge when we got there, wouldn't we? That said, I didn't know how to go about finding an imprint in my mind. Couldn't picture what that looked like, or how to find it. As I pondered that, Cav stirred and rolled over, letting out an unintelligible mumble before he sat straight up. Somebody's not a morning person. I looked beside him first, then at where I was sitting on the sofa before letting out a cat-like yawn. Morning. Good morning. I feel robbed. I suppose I have the enjoyment of waking up next to you. Technically, we are still next to... Don't start. Why do you always have to be so pedantic? Because it's irritating, which in turn is amusing. He gave me a sour look as he ran a hand through his hair. And finally, he swung his legs over the edge of the bed, reaching for the prosthetic arm he'd removed before sleeping last night. I watched as he plugged it back into the slot below his shoulder, wincing before opening and closing the hand a few times. Sleep well? Yeah, pretty damn well. I half expected you to be some sort of horrific blanket thief or something, but it wasn't too bad. How rude. My sleeping habits are exemplary. How long have you been up? Not long, maybe 15 minutes. Was planning to shower. Wanna come with? I was planning to spend some more time searching for the supposed key in my head. I thought meditating over it might help me locate it. Want a hand with that? I think I could find it on my own eventually. I mean, I assume so. Alright, then I'll leave you to it. He came to me and leaned down for a quick kiss before leaving to go have his shower. I waited until I heard the water running before I shut my eyes, took a breath, and turned my gaze inward. To find this key, this imprint, whatever it was. Also, I envisioned the internal structure of a mind in a unique way. Our brains had a specific method it used to try to parse what we were sensing, a way of organizing and processing information. So a mind palace. But with time, we could learn to direct that into a specific mental picture. My preferred image was a room with long halls with filing drawers, all labeled and organized. It was easy to find things if I knew where to look, difficult if I had to peruse thousands of memory files for it. Surface thoughts were always near the front of this image, while everything else lay deeper within. Like wandering the stacks of a forsaken library, I could spend hours searching for a single thought or memory and not find it. My inner library was also terrible at organization, apparently. And this imprint, if it even behaved like normal information, was an unknown lurking somewhere in that infinite hall of files. If I looked for something that felt like my father, I might find it faster. Because I doubted he'd be able to completely remove remnants of his own mind from whatever he did to me. That would linger like a signature screaming, Elia Nymera was here! So that's what I focused on looking for, at least for now. Whether I had any luck, well, I'd find out soon. When I was doing this kind of thing, searching around the mind like this, it was easy for time to pass without realizing it. You got so wrapped up in the inner mind that you completely lost track of what was going on outside. I didn't think that much time had passed, though, or maybe I was wrong. I thought I might have seen a glimmer of something. But Cav was trying to get my attention and pull me out of my own mind, and I wasn't sure he'd have bothered me if it hadn't been a while. I sensed him faintly, like a glimmer of light at the edge of my mind, light that I followed back out into full consciousness. It was a smooth transition that it probably wouldn't have been had it been anyone else trying to get my attention. I opened my eyes and he was standing there in front of me, head tipped to the side, and that slight smirk on his lips. How long had he been watching me, I wondered. About half an hour, probably longer than he thought. I laughed a little, surprise rearing its head, then evaporating. It was going to take a bit to get used to that again. Hope you didn't mind me pulling you out for a little while. I thought you could use a break. I'm not really tired yet. Compared to searching in the past or something, this sort of thing is pretty easy for me. Did you find anything then? Not yet, but I was close. Don't worry, I'll catch it the next time I try. Want a hand then? Might be easier. I've never really had help with something like this. First time for everything. I studied him for a moment, eyes narrowed. He was a guide for the paths, a teacher, but that wasn't the same thing as this. Even if that's what Cav did in the past, it didn't mean he was an adept telepath. They were, in some ways, two totally different disciplines. I have to admit, I'm curious. Alright, if you want to help, let's do it. I wasn't sure he would be able to find something in my mind if even I couldn't, but you never know. Cav took my hand and pulled me to my feet, leading me back to the still messy bed, though I had a feeling his bed was always messy. He didn't strike me as the sort to make it each morning. I generally make my bed, but, sometimes I don't. He sat pulling his legs up and crossing them in front of him, nodding for me to do the same. It's more comfortable this way. Don't have a proper set of cushions for this stuff anymore. I sat in front of him, folding my legs the same way he had as he took my hands. Don't expect too much. It's been a long time since I did something like this. Just do what you did before and I'll follow you. I want to see how you do things before I butt in. I shut my eyes, not quite keeping the smile off my face, so Cav grabbed my face, squishing my cheeks playfully. Focus. Yes, inadvertently. Felt his exasperation at that, though he didn't respond. As I turned my thoughts inward once more this time, I felt Cav with me as we started mind-walking again. Well, it was true that most paths guides were uniquely tailored to that one thing. I was surprised by that to find that Cav was a pretty decent telepath. Just from the way he slipped unobtrusively into my thoughts, I could tell he was better than me. He'd done this many times before, and was very good at it. Interesting. It made sense to me now why he wore the telepathic suppressor. Even the slightest projection from him would cut through space and time like a beacon. He was so much more than just a guide for the paths, I could tell. Despite ghosting through my mind as I once again sought for this key I supposedly carried, it wasn't invasive or uncomfortable. I had spent many paths lessons warding off the discomfort of someone else intruding on my thoughts and memories. Cav didn't feel that way at all. At most, it was like a soft whisper in the back of my mind, like having someone hold my hand as I peered into all the darkest recesses and old memories. If I'd had him as a teacher back then, I might have been a better student. Seeing him like this was so strange, an unexplored facet that made me want to stop and observe, but I couldn't. He was doing his best to keep me focused, reminding me to look here or check at certain locked away parts of my mind I'd forgotten. He was probably seeing some of my old memories as he subtly directed me to look in various places, but he was staying away from anything too private as well. Aww, sweetheart. And after a while, he faded to the point I almost forgot he was looking at the edges and keeping an eye on me. Since I started to maybe have a slight visual of the key before Cav had interrupted me, tried to recreate what I'd done before, but with no luck this time. It wasn't until I began to feel frustrated that I started feeling the pull from outside again. Cav guided me back to regular consciousness. I opened my eyes and looked at him curiously because we hadn't been looking that long. Time for a break. It hasn't. He shook his head, holding up a hand. The more frustrated you get, the more difficult it'll be. It doesn't have to be that long if even a short period of time gets you irritated. Take a break, have a shower. We should have something to eat anyway. Maybe get out of the flat for a while. It'll do you good to do all the above. I have a feel for your strategy now, so I think I'll be able to help more effectively going forward. Ugh. Stop trying to make me be reasonable. Listen to Entwale il Mundas. Translates more or less directly to little student, but isn't a term most teachers, particularly past guides, would ever use to refer to their students. It's more of a teasing name Cav makes up in the moment. Got a bite on the back of my hand that's driving me nuts. He grinned and stood, nudging me with his leg. Go clean up. I'll make breakfast, and then maybe we can get out for a while. You can always try again after that. Though I didn't really want to stop, I knew he had a point, so I stood and stretched, watching him as he went to the kitchen area. More and more frequently, I had moments where I wished I could have known him back when he was still a teacher, when he was happier. When he didn't try to hide himself behind a persona he'd created for the purposes of distancing himself from his past. From school he lost, the dreams that were shattered back then. Things that were never really all that far from his heart, because in spite of everything, Cav hadn't changed that much at all. I went to rummage for clean clothes, trying and failing to push those thoughts away. This whole thing must be hard for him. In some ways, maybe as much as it was for me. Certainly it was harder than he let on. His anger may have cooled. Wounds may have faded to scars. But just because scars faded, that didn't mean they weren't still there. I cast another glance back at him as he tied his loose hair back to start cooking. A smile flowed over my face and vanished. I didn't think I'd ever be able to work with Tavare, knowing he was partially responsible for what happened to Cav. Centuries ago or not, it was too difficult to look past it. So what did that mean for me, even if I did find this key? Finding it over to the guild instead? I wasn't sure about that either, given their actions. In any case, it wasn't like they'd be able to use it. It wasn't an actual key, most likely. One step at a time, right? You can't even answer a question of whom to trust it with while it's still in your head and you don't know how it works. So focusing on the current step without looking too far ahead was so much easier said than done. The sooner I found the stupid thing, the better. This time I let myself linger in the hot shower for a long time until the heat had permeated and I felt the build-up tension in my shoulders. Breakfast was waiting for me when I finished my shower. It was simple and looked delicious. But I was startled to see something that looked not just Terran, but familiar. Something my grandmother had made frequently on Laertes. As reminded of home, as I picked up a flat, almost pancake-like triangle that was definitely made of potato. Is this a Terran recipe? Cav looked down almost as if he was also surprised to see them there. Oh, didn't really even think about what I was making. I had some potatoes. I don't think I've ever made these before either. I don't know what they're even called. Potato farls. I used to eat them a lot when I was growing up. Huh, probably just picked up some stray memories while in your head. Sorry about that. I didn't realize you'd seen that deep into my childhood, but I guess it's inevitable. I'm not complaining. I love these. Well, potatoes are one of Earth's great inventions. Potatoes are actually, there's a reason that potatoes were pretty standard in Ireland. You could grow more potatoes on a small plat of land than pretty much anything else. So that's why potatoes became ubiquitous in Ireland. And then they had the Great Potato Famine, and so many Irish immigrants ended up traveling to America instead. There's a lot more to the Irish traveling to America than that, but the Great Potato Famine was one of them. Relaya might claim tea, another wonderful invention, but Earth has potatoes, and I personally think that demands some level of respect. Okay, sure. He was so odd sometimes. But then again, I couldn't help but find it endearing, so that probably said something about me, too. He settled in next to me, sipping a cup of coffee, but he briefly leaned over to nuzzle against the side of my head. You smell good. Well, I did just have a shower. He squirmed away from his playful cuddles, holding a hand out to ward him off. So you said you might want to go somewhere today? Nowhere in particular, just wanted to show you the city a little. More than anything, I just want you to be somewhere that is under the open sky, not closed in and small. Preferably with sun. As much as I love getting caught in the rain with you, I think some sun would do you good. That's actually, getting sunshine is actually good for people. It's one way to get the vitamin D that we need. If you have a deficit of vitamin D, it can be very bad. And one of the best ways to get vitamin D is to go out in the sun. Touch grass. Yeah, I would like to be outdoors with you at least once without getting rained on. Good. I also want to just be out of the small, close-in spaces for a while. No point in being planet-side if you stay inside the whole time. After breakfast, I'll clean up and we can head out. I know a few spots I think you'll like. I'm looking forward to it then. No matter what the others say, it's good to be back. I think everyone was glad to be back this time. They'll be glad for a week, but I'll be happy to stay planet-side much longer. I always preferred it to space travel. I know space hounds like the crew tend to get cabin fever even when they have an entire world around them to explore. For some, a single planet is never big enough and they need the entire galaxy to play in. But I'm most at ease with the sky overhead and the lifeblood of a planet and its people all around me. Even so, when I'm with those dumbasses, I can't help but drag myself out to the deep with them every single time. They make life bearable out there. So affectionate. Fun even. I like dividing my time. Flying like this one feels small after a while, but I can't spend too much time out in the void either. I have to come back and surround myself with life for a while. It's an endless cycle. Life always is. I guess what differs from person to person is how long the cycle is, which part makes me want to linger there a bit longer. You strike me as someone who's always down the middle and so towards the edges of something like that. Yeah, that sounds about right. I wouldn't have taken you for someone who prefers to be planet-side. Not at first. But I guess now that I've had the chance to get to know you better, it makes sense. He's only ever been driven to the stars because he lost his home in the first place, huh? He drew me a little closer but said nothing in response to that. We were walking down a busy footpath together and I have been for a little while now. Just walking. He wasn't really showing me around or giving me a tour, just chatting, losing ourselves in the crowd. I'm just taking in the difference now that it's daytime and the sky is clear. So beautiful. Palm trees. We have a lot of palm trees where I live, for good reason. I sometimes point out this or that, the rough direction of Noel's place, a cafe with excellent coffee, things like that. There's a pleasant respite from the chaos. Eventually we did dip into a little bookstore they said Noel liked. A clothing shop that looked like Cap could get his entire wardrobe there. I enjoyed the closeness and the ability to push other things aside and forget them for a while. It was inevitable that the topic of the key, Savaria, and everything else would resurface, though. Oh, this is beautiful. I love this. Look at all that green. And the lights, they look so natural. I mean, they're clearly artificial, but they work with the greenery around them. We found ourselves in a sort of underground garden that Kat said Yeren had showed him before. It was quiet and cool and had only a few other people walking around. Of course Yeren found this place. We were talking in near whispers, augmenting the conversation with telepathy so we could hear each other properly. What gets me is just how irresponsible it was. That's so unlike him. At least it's unlike what I thought I knew of him. Did he change, or did I never actually know my father? I can't speak to whether you know the man, but irresponsible doesn't begin to address the problem with putting this on your shoulders and ignoring your agency, Lane. I know that, but setting aside the personal aspect, there are other major issues. I can't even begin to imagine the collision between the Nexus Guild and UC if there was a replacement for the gate system. I reckon it would be a logistical nightmare. The Nexus Guild would hold things up for years if they knew the UCW government got their hands on something like that. Which is why I'm sure they'd rather get their hands on it first. Enough they're willing to latch onto our cargo and you for any clues you might hold. If they knew you had more than a clue, I can't imagine the lengths they'd go to. And then what would the guild do if Ja'an got a hold of it before they did? What would Ja'an do? How would he possibly keep him away from it? Possibly keep them away from it? Yeah, I don't know. I do know that Savaria wouldn't stand by and just watch the Entente do whatever they intend to do. That doesn't spell an easy future for the apparent key to it all, does it? Possibly not as it stands at the moment, no. The frustrating thing is that I don't mind helping with resolving the situation with the gate system, but not when they're throwing raiders at us to force my hand. And what, do they expect me to know where the hubs are? Because I definitely do not. It might be somewhere in the nav charts. But revealing we have a lay in navigation charts is a whole other issue. If you're interested in negotiating with them, I can hack in and figure out what they found so far regarding that project. It's better to know what cards they're holding. I imagine it's a far cry from the small amount they publicly announce. They may not know as much as it seems like they do. You think you could just casually hack in? I think my sister's home from work. I can hear her dog barking. Did it before and created a whole new planetary system that doesn't exist. That stuff's easy. Okay, sure, easy. Yeah, that's what he did to make, when he made up which planet he was from. Do you know how terrifying you are sometimes? Of course I know how terrifying I am, Nalo. I have to live with me. You know, in some stories it would be all about us getting caught in events bigger than us and saving the galaxy or something. Instead, you're just trying your best to weasel out of it entirely. Where did I put my pencil? There it is. Yeah, if you can hear a dog barking through my microphone, that's my sister's dog. She's just going crazy because she can hear that my sister is home and my sister hasn't let her out yet. Let's go with amused. I laughed a little, amused by his calling me out that way. You're not wrong, but think about it. This whole thing sounds like a pain in the ass. Why do I have to save the galaxy? Who even wants that? And even if this isn't about saving the galaxy, when it comes to unlocking the home world for wayward wanderers, yeah, this actually reminds me of I saw something on the internet that basically said that Luke is basically spends his entire story being a sidekick to someone else. First, he's his uncle's sidekick, taking care of the vaporators and whining about wanting to go to Tashi Station. Then he's Ben Kenobi's sidekick. Then he's Han's sidekick. And only at the very end of the story is he actually the hero and not the sidekick. We're unlocking the Starway to protect intergalactic space travel. Again, why do I have to do that? Why do I have to be the hurdle someone else has to cross to get access to their holy grail? Why are you laughing? Just imagining you as the literal key to the front door. It's pretty damn funny. She said. Screw you. Sure, now or later. Of course they take it that way. I don't think we want to try it here. I'm sure we can find out an out of the way place. I laughed again, shoving his shoulder as I sped up, walking ahead of him a bit. You're terrible. I pride myself on it, Nalo. We walked quietly for a while longer through the winding paths with dim light filtering from overhead. My eyes traced the dappled light on the floor, my mind miles away. You know that if I choose to help the guild, it'll cause problems. Other people want this thing in my head, Savari to Aeon. They won't stand by even if I approach the UC governing body instead, which feels safer than dealing with the guilds right now. Maybe the better option here is to turn it over to someone else then, someone better equipped to manage the situation. I thought about that, but I'm not sure who I can trust with it. You know there are options, groups still roaming around that weren't involved back then. I'll help you think on it. Not like you have to have a solution by the end of the day today, Lane. You have time. I'm sure there's a way to remove yourself from this equation if you want. I think that would be best for everyone. I had to find it first, though, and figure out how to extract it, store it elsewhere. Cal slipped an arm around me as we left the underground garden, and for a while we didn't talk about anything else. Just walked and enjoyed being outdoors together. We stopped to eat at a cafe and chatted about his time in the city before. A few weeks ago, I would have been astonished to learn he spent a lot of time hopping around to different performance arts venues, watching various shows and performances. This is a nice little cafe. I could see visiting a place like that here on Earth. Now, not so much. Same with the volunteer work with youth in the city. A way to be a teacher again. Apparently in the limited time before, he hadn't managed to work up the courage to work directly with people yet, but he volunteered to do work no one else wanted to do. Oh, of course he would. He was still more afraid of losing everything again than he liked to let on. But his face lit up while talking about it, and I thought that one day he'd get to the point he could have students again without that fear. I hoped I got to see it. We got back to his flat that night. We spent a lot of the evening curled up together on his sofa to talk more. I was the one who started to doze off first and eventually went to bed. But I woke up late that night to find Cav on the sofa with several glowing screens open in front of him, casting an eerie blue glow on his face. I wondered if he was researching like he said he would earlier. Cav? He looked up and smiled at me, flicking one of the screens off. It's early to be waking up, Lane. I'll come back to bed soon, just taking care of something. I was too tired to question that and fell asleep with him still working a short distance away. Cav had a meeting with the senior staff the next day as expected. Robert and Jamie wanted to meet me, of course, but it was their routine for the senior staff to brief them on the mission right after the return, and I wasn't on the senior staff. Cav, however, was considered senior staff after all, and he was called in with the others. It was surprising to learn given how many responsibilities he shirked. But given that he was the only one with his particular specialty of identifying any old technology they encountered on their trips, I suppose it made sense. That said, they obviously had other things they wanted to discuss with him, which, all things considered, was more than fair. Either way, my not going was fine with me. I thought it was best that everyone could give them an honest overview of the situation. There might not be that same raw honesty with me there. So first thing after breakfast, Cav and I shared a kiss and he was gone. Then I knew I'd be sitting alone with myself, struggling to unwind that tangled knot of telepathic etchings on my mind for the next few hours at least. I alternated between sitting with my legs pulled up to me, staring out the window, or down at the floor. I didn't know why this key or code or whatever was so hard to locate. Thought I glimpsed it before and now it was like it had gone into hiding. Had my father programmed in some sort of defensive response? That would make sense if someone else had tried to find it, but a defensive response that hid it from me? No matter how deep in my mind I searched, I couldn't find even a trace of my father anymore. I was exhausted in its own annoying way. And I suppose it didn't help that I was distracted with other thoughts of the future and what lay ahead. Because of the staff meeting and the fact the others were probably discussing it, so I couldn't help but think about it too. You couldn't know the future. Not really. Only the possibilities. Even so, part of me yearned to look ahead, to peer into the uncertainty and find some assurance. But I wouldn't look because I wasn't stupid enough to provoke fate. I already had more than enough to deal with. I didn't need the veil, or something worse, on my head. Besides, I knew full well that Savari and Jane, if he could, was keeping his eye on the past. Right now, I'd been able to somewhat hide behind the overwhelming presence of so many others. But if I crossed that threshold to look at the future, they'd spot me right away. And it wouldn't be worth it. If I was afraid to peek at the future, there was only the option of looking to the past. Centuries-deep journey through my own life to the point Elion put me in that cube. I wouldn't be able to stop him, but I could probably question him. And then I'd just be mad because he'd say something stupid. I remembered him saying he didn't have a choice. Maybe he was saying it to some future me who was looking back. That already annoys me. That was also glossing over the fact that I still trace a world line through space and time for 500 years. I'd have to travel that expanse to get back to the point I wanted to revisit. For some, finding a spot in the past was as easy as stepping over a threshold and identifying a specific point in a room, but it was never like that for me. Not only was it risky, but it sounded depressing as hell. I flopped backwards, running an arm over my eyes, talked myself out of it, though the temptation remained there, tugging at me and whispering to just give it a try. Or go knocking at the front door and tell the veil they could eat me if they wanted. It would save me a lot of mental anguish, but that would just make Cav sad, I guess. Which meant I should stop procrastinating and just keep at trying to untangle the stupid key. I went for a walk instead. Good idea. I feel like I need to save here. I could sense it to the very core of my being that if I sat in that little room alone for much longer, I was going to do something stupid. I needed to get out and clear my head. At the very least, I wasn't going to pick a fight with metaphysical beings from the convergence of the multiverse while standing in the middle of a busy footpath. I wandered far from Cav's place, from the port and those busy areas. Just thinking, looking around, trying to stave off the existential crisis. I wasn't sure when Cav would be back. He hadn't given me much information on how long the briefings took. And realistically, this one might take longer than usual. They had a lot to discuss. Oh boy, did they. Not just finding Lane, Nibera, but also that dimensional loop thing, the Super Terra, the incident with the Aglaia, and the protoplanetary disk. I think there's something that happened there, and it was not just finding Will's cube and all that stuff, but there was other stuff that happened, and then of course there was the stuff that happened before they found the cube and everything. So it's a lot to discuss. The temptation to yank my hood up and slink around the streets like someone trying not to be spotted was strong. But if I didn't want to stand out, I should probably try not to look shady as hell. Then again, somehow I always attracted attention when I didn't want it, no matter how unshady I tried to look. Maybe I just had one of those faces. So I didn't wear a hood, and I tried my best to not have one of those faces while I wandered around. The city was as nice now as it was when I got out with Cap. I could overlook the smog cleaners, which were a fixture in every big city anyway. As much as I loved being out in the deep, I had to admit that the fresh air, the bright sky overhead, and towering buildings had their own appeal. I loved this too in its way. It wasn't as if I didn't know that some of us ran to the deep to escape realities that were too difficult to ignore when locked down on a world like this. I was no different. I could drift through things much easier out there. Here, it felt safer, but it also felt like being tied down. Trapped in a terrarium where things would catch up with you eventually, no matter how hard you ran. Even so, I didn't always mind it. Fish were happy as long as their aquarium was clean and free of predators. Then again, I couldn't exactly argue my aquarium was free of predators, could I? Meh. I shoved my hands in my pockets and skimmed my feet over the remnants of morning puddles, wondering if it had rained every night. The market we visited before was there, or a permanent fixture. I rounded through it, a part of my mind on the key and trying to unwind it. Yeah, that looks like any market. Street market. That looks so cool. It's not just cast apartments that looks lived in, this whole planet looks lived in, which is cool. And that's one thing that appeals about Star Wars, is it's clearly the future, but there's still stuff that's beat up, that it's worn out. something like Star Trek, everything is clean and new and works. There's very little in Star Trek that's beaten up and run down, but Star Wars, a lot of it was beaten up and run down, at least that we saw in the first 3 movies. The prequels, we saw parts of the galaxy that were more like Star Trek. It wasn't too hard to do that while focusing on the world around me enough not to walk into anything. Mostly, I was going to ignore the fact that I walked into a light post and never bring it up to anyone. Ever. That's something they told us at work, was to, we're not supposed to be on our phones once we get past a certain point. Our phones are supposed to stay in our purses or our pockets or whatever. Not supposed to be on them. And they have mentioned that someone did literally walk into a pole because they were too busy looking at their phone. And I generally follow that rule. Number one, because I don't spend... I prefer to watch where I'm going because I'm really bad at... It's just easier for me to not have something in my hands that could potentially distract me. And number two, since I was working nights, most of the people I might have been talking to on the phone were already in bed asleep, or they were headed there. But there were some people, like, the moment they took their break, they were on their phone talking to someone, just chattering away, and it's like, can you not talk to people? Do you have to be talking to someone constantly? And there are people that would talk to the other workers, and it's like, how do you even get any work done if you're talking to everyone else around you? Makes no sense. Leaving the market behind, I followed the footpath and wound a trail between the towering skyscrapers as I enjoyed the sun. Enjoyed the sounds of the city, the light passing of the crowd and the gentle hum of their thoughts, and enjoyed the faint sound of birds and other traffic, real birds even. And of course I was trying so very hard to ignore the fact that someone started following me not 30 minutes after I left Cav's flat. Partially because I was trying to act natural, and partially because I was sort of hoping they'd go away and spare me the annoyance of dealing with the aquarium predators that had apparently come to say hello. Damn it. Couldn't believe that the moment I was on my own again, I was being followed. Had I managed to do anything on my own since waking up that didn't lead to me getting chased, getting attacked by tentacle monsters, shadow lurkers in my dreams, or something? No, I don't think I had. This is so unfair. Whoever it was kept pace with me for 20 minutes after I'd noticed them. I wasn't making an overt effort to lose them. In fact, if anything, I was making an effort to seem like I had no idea they were there. Even so, my path was a little more meandering than it would have been otherwise. The question, as I tried to be as inconspicuous as one who could be what they were already being sought, was who was following me. It wasn't Savari or Janaean. Setting aside that they wouldn't have gone about it this way, I could just tell. I had a feeling of Janaean's days of lurking in dark alleys were finished. So that meant the next skeld or one of the others, maybe. Or hell, anyone else who caught wind that Nexus was up to something and knew enough about it to track me down. I should just be grateful it was a group of normal clowns and not someone spookier, all things considered. They must have been watching Cass plays, or the entire crew, and waiting for a chance to catch me alone. It's possible I should be glad I decided to go for a walk, because at least out here I had room to run if needed. If they caught me at the flat with nowhere to run, even if I could defend myself, that would call down a larger problem to deal with. What really bothered me was that this meant Palmyra 4 wasn't safe for me. And if it wasn't safe for me, it wasn't safe for the others either. At least as long as I was with them. That, I suppose, depended on whether my stalkers were content to follow and observe or if they had something more nefarious in mind. What I could tell from surface thoughts and emotions was that they were uncertain and only somewhat convinced I was the one they were looking for. But they were looking for a person and not an object this time, which was a new development. So they found more information about the key, maybe. Or they wanted me to be the one to give them more information about it. Well, now what? I could continue to ignore them for a while longer, but not forever. So the question was whether to run or try to make it back home. now, maybe I should just try to get back to Cav's place without being followed. If Nexus or someone had already located me and were making this kind of move, I was worrying about reaching out to the others over any sort of communication channel. Not that I need a communication channel, but the guild and the others might be monitoring those. Savari and the others could be trying to listen in on any telepathic messages floating around the aether. Special ones that would require me to lower my mental barriers even slightly, which I'd have to do to search for the others. Even if I could still block them from hearing my actual thoughts, it didn't mean they wouldn't notice I was alone. I'd have to hold off on that for now. So, getting back to the flat without being followed. I had no idea how to manage that. I didn't know the city well enough to lose stalkers without losing myself in the process, as they were really determined. But I had nowhere else to go, so I headed back home was my only option, even if it was just to get my things, my vault, the play of star charts, and all of it, before running again. I'd have to try to just plan accordingly based on whether I could lose them. Without changing my pace, I tried to an alley that led to another street opposite a row of low buildings. That would put me out of their sights for a few minutes, since they were pretty far behind me at the moment, long enough for me to use that to get away. I broke into a run as soon as I knew they'd lost sight of me, veering into another nearby alley instead of crossing over to the next street. With my clairvoyance, at least, I could keep an eye on the path ahead and avoid trapping myself in a dead end. So that was useful. I had a few other non-standard skills to help me out in situations like this, which sadly was not my first time getting chased through alleys. I mean, it happened in the previous chapter, didn't it? As I fled, enjoying my head start for as long as it lasted, I contemplated my options. I could fight back, of course, but that would make my location obvious to anyone keeping an eye out for strange telepathic flares as much as a long-range telepathic communication to Cav would have. And realistically, the more I positioned myself as a threat, the more dangerous the guild or anyone else could become as a response. It's better if they continue to underestimate me. Those were my thoughts as I fled, both keeping an eye on the road ahead of me and an eye on what my stalkers were doing. They had entered the previous alley pretty quick after I vanished from sight, and of course immediately panicked when they couldn't see where I'd gone. They chose to split up, which wasn't ideal, though it wasn't a bad thing either since I had fewer to deal with. But one of them was heading the same way I'd gone, so I wasn't out of the woods yet. And now the chase begins. The pursuers were still wary of me, so that gave me an edge since it meant they'd likely keep their distance. But they were also determined because they didn't stop even when I broke out onto a busy footpath again, and I had to start weaving through the crowd. What if I can't get back to Cav's place? If they kept chasing me, I was going to be safe leading them back there. Where could I even go if not there? The only other safe place for me that I could think of was maybe the ship. And I didn't know how safe it was there either. But I didn't have to worry about that if and when it came to that. If circling back to Cav's place became out of the question. At least I got one day of calm. That was something, I suppose. But before I could mope about that, I needed to focus on losing these people. Or at least showing them I wasn't an amateur when it came to get away from strangers a little too curious for their own good. At least when the strangers were just normal people without special psychic abilities. It was quite late by the time I finally wound my way to the city and to the ship. I hadn't originally wandered that far from Cav's place, and he lived close to the hangar, but then I led my pursuers quite far from there in my attempt to lose them. Getting back ended up being more of an ordeal than I thought. I was second-guessing myself the entire way, including when I got lost and was too worried about being found to stop for the directions. Given how difficult it was to shake these people, I had to assume they were tapping into the city's surveillance or security cameras, which meant I probably shouldn't show my face. Asking directions felt like giving them a way to track me, leaving breadcrumbs to follow. The lone girl with silver eyes and a synthetic voice box was memorable enough for an unsuspecting directions giver to remember if asked. So instead, I led my pursuers through a charming chase through the city, a goose chase as my grandmother would have called it. Except they were lucky I wasn't actually a goose. I'd met one once, they were mean as hell. Everyone says that. It was much less confrontational, but that might not have been the case if I had a beak and giant wings. As it was, I had telepathy and telekinesis, and two very annoying stalkers who were definitely watching, and to whom I did not much give any indications that I was in a dangerous situation. So no significant telepathic attacks and only moderate use of telekinesis. The last thing I needed was to run into Jan or Savari in some deserted alleyway. Again. For the most part, I was just using the telekinesis to boost myself over obstacles. I wasn't quite adept enough to be flying around the city like a maniac yet. But it still helped. A little. I lost my pursuers several times. I found them by accident once, which was a little awkward. For a split second, it felt more like a comedy routine than anything else. That was the story of my life sometimes. I got out of it by flinging a trash bin at them and running back the way I'd come. The city was enormous, but felt so much smaller with people chasing me. So I wove through buildings, backtracked, and did my very best to make sure they didn't think I was heading for the hangar, but rather out of the city entirely. It must have worked, because by the time I did get back to the hangar, I was pretty sure I wasn't being followed, at least for the time being. Cav had probably tried to contact me at some point, but with my attempts to block out any and all telepathic contact most of the day, I received nothing. Now that I was back here, I wasn't sure what to do. I didn't know how to contact him safely. Maybe if I had time, I could figure out a method using some sort of delayed encryption, but that still had the problem of the message being tracked, even if they couldn't understand what it said. But now that I was standing a short distance from the ship, trying hard to not look suspicious as I stayed away from any and all visible surveillance posts, I didn't know what to do. There didn't appear to be anyone watching the hangar yet, but it was only a matter of time. Did I try to hide aboard the ship, or I could probably barter my way into some sort of cargo ship and get off the planet? With adrenaline fading and dread settling in, I wasn't sure what to do. Damn it. You seem a little lost. Can I help you find where you're going? I whirled around, instantly relieved when I heard that voice that was so often paired with sensing no one around me. Threw myself at him, embracing him tight. Cav! Eldonalo. What are you doing here? Waiting for you. You knew I'd come. I wish I could say I just predicted your actions accurately. But after I couldn't find you or sense your presence earlier, I went looking in the past, and before any lectures, don't forget who you're dealing with. No one noticed my presence there for something quick like this. Then I guess you know what I've been doing all day. Yeah, I do. So let's not waste time in explanations. We should get aboard the ship for now. Created a gap in security so we can get to the hatch without being seen. The others are waiting. The others? Wait, which others? Why? He shook his head for now, placing his finger on his lips. Instead of giving answers, he put an arm around me and guided me away from my little hiding spot. We went swiftly around to the back of the ship. It wasn't until we were inside that we paused for him to give me more information about what was happening. I reached out to you at the end of the meeting to let you know I'd be back soon, only to run up against your mental blocks. Couldn't reach you on your comm either, so I knew something was up. The others noticed I was a bit dodgy and was eager to get out. I didn't intend to tell them anything, but Noel cornered you and made you, didn't he? Noel, Rafe, and Jamie, an unholy trinity of nosy insistence. You know they used to let me get away with it and would leave me be, but now that someone ratted me out to them, they're a bit more brazen about demanding answers. I did not rat you out, thank you. I specifically did not do that, as a matter of fact. He looked away and I didn't respond to the teasing like he normally would. My eyes narrowed as I watched him. Dun dun dun, what's going on? He was fidgety. Something's off about him. Anyway, they weaseled the truth out of me, then refused to let us handle this alone, that's all. Is it all? What do you mean? Why are they actually here? It's nothing, they just reckon this key can't stay here on Palmyra 4, given the circumstances, that's all. Cav had spoken verbally even after I found out he was Valayan. He only used telepathic speech sometimes, but now he's keeping me out of his mind again, I realized. When we were this close to each other, there was no need for it anymore. Are you hiding something from me, Cav? We should get up to the bridge lane. The others are waiting. So in other words, yes, you are. Crossed my arms over my chest and tipped my head to the side. What is it? Must be something serious if you're working this hard to hide it. I'm not moving from the spot until you tell me what's going on, and if you won't tell me, I'll ask the others because somehow I get the feeling Lane or whatever it is. Lane? Cav, I hope you can understand I'm not in a good mood at the moment. I'm tired, I'm cold, I'm hungry, and I am not interested in playing games. In fact, I'm quite tired of it. I was just... Yes, you were just. I took the key from your mind while you were sleeping last night, the night before, bit by bit, operation by operation. What? For a split second, the breath froze in my lungs. Then I deflated and let out a hollow laugh. That explained why I found nothing, even after nearly finding it the first time around. That must have been a remnant that I scooped up later on. Cav. I tried to keep my voice even as I spoke. Is that why you offered to help me look for it? Because you wanted to find it and take it before I did? I You know what? Don't answer that. I don't think I have the emotional fortitude to not be angry about it. And for the record, it would be justified, but I don't think this is the time for a well-deserved tantrum. I think I know you well enough to know you're trying to help or protect me, to get this thing off my shoulders and deal with it yourself. And I know how terrified you are of losing things important to you. I get all of that. But let me ask you one thing before we stop the conversation here. Do you think it's any more empowering for you to take that thing from me without permission than it was to have someone put it in my head without telling me? Then spend a whole day pretending you didn't? Are you saying it would have been fine if I told you first thing when you got up? I'm saying that the pretense makes it a hell of a lot worse, but not asking in the first place is still a problem. It's not like I wanted that thing in my head, but I'm tired of people in my life deciding what's best for me, but, of course, not telling me about it. I'm sorry. I just wanted to finally be able to protect someone I care about. He took me by the shoulders, a surprising amount of emotion in his face. The emotion I had already known had fueled this. I can't lose you, Lane. I can't lose everything again. So you made yourself a target instead? Or tried, because it didn't work for the record. I'm used to being a target. My jaw clenched, and without thinking, I smacked the center of his forehead with the side of my hand. He flinched, then glared at me, opening his mouth to say something in return. I did that too, for the record, when he finally fessed up about what was going on. How long have you been there? Long enough to wonder if you were going to tell her you were planning to disappear alone with that thing in your head. I'm sorry, you were what? My third patience, already frayed from a day of dodging stalkers, snapped. No, please. I should have expected this level of betrayal from a Terran. Do you intend to put a knife in my gut too? Are there others going to jump out and start stabbing me here on the cargo hold floor? I have no idea what you're talking about, but I think you should at least be honest at this point before everyone on this ship is pissed at you. Fine, Lane. I was fine to run away with this thing and dump it from somewhere else and come back and find you. Happy, Noel? I'd be happier if you had been planning to do something so monumentally stupid and frustrating. Lane? Oh, Cav. She looks pretty mad. Yeah! Idiot! Such an idiot. Oh my gosh. I get it. It comes from a place of caring. But still, this whole thing happened because someone took her agency from her. And you did the same damn thing. Of course she's gonna be pissed at you. Take a breath and count to 10. There are witnesses after all. Yeah, it's real sweet that Cav was going to take the burden on himself and then come back. But he didn't consult Lane at all. He just did it. That doesn't make him much better than her father, who thought, it's basically the same thing. He thinks that he knows better what needs to be done in this situation. So then he just goes ahead and does it without asking, without consulting, or anything. So that's gonna be hard. Responded by punching Cap on the arm, the fleshy one. I didn't want to hurt my hand. Damn it, how many times do I have to get hit today? That's for taking the key without permission, and for hiding it, and for trying to hide what you were planning to do until someone else told me. I grabbed his face between both my hands, and before it could even stop me, I peered into his mind, ripping past those fragile barriers that were already shaky from his emotional state. I think he realized what I was about to do about half a second before I found the key, which he had not hidden well at all, and ripped it back out of his mind. He tried to stop me, but was too late. Squishing his cheeks slightly, fingers digging into the fleshy parts of his cheeks, I gave him an angry grin. Just so you know, I'm not bad at telepathy when I have a reason to be good at it, Cav. As my father used to say, I just don't apply myself unless I have to. He might have been older and he might have been a guide, but that didn't mean I couldn't also be good at this sort of thing. If you want it back, this time you're going to have to ask nicely and share your damn plans with me. I moved past him, still trying to figure out if I was too tired to stay angry or not. Will you give it back to me and let me handle it if I ask? Glanced back at him, rubbing at one of his cheeks. I don't know, Cav. I'm surprisingly accommodating when given the chance to be, but somehow people just don't give me that opportunity until I'm already annoyed at them. Ask me again when I'm too pissed at someone to be angry at you. I gave Noel a slight nod as I started away. He gave me a slightly resigned smile as I passed him. Cav quickly caught up to me as I walked down the corridor. I don't look his way, but I did note that he was no longer blocking me out of his mind. I guess there was no reason for it now that I knew everything. When I glanced his way, he was giving me an apologetic smile. I have to sigh because I'm still annoyed at him, but we really did need to get everything else sorted before I discussed his reckless behavior. And, well, on the list of people I was mad at, he wasn't quite at the top of the list, so I would let it rest for now. I wanted to focus on managing the fact that people were trying to actively hunt me down. Once that was sorted, Cav and I would talk. I hadn't expected to come here and find the entire crew waiting, and I still want to ask about how that had happened, but I could imagine. A slight smile came to my face. They were stubborn, weren't they? This was the turn I didn't expect, but it gave me hope. Because the unexpected turns were often the ones that led you to the best outcomes. That is what I hoped would be true anyway. Coming soon, the conclusion sits fast to fate. Okay, that's it. I thought there'd be more. I'm looking something up. 1 second. Okay, it's just chapter 10. I thought there'd be more. Okay, I thought the rest of the chapters would be available, but I guess not. Okay. There's extras. Gallery. So yeah, it's just blurred images, so not even gonna bother. Come on. There we go. Oh, that's chapter 1. I'm sorry. Okay. Right. Yeah, it's a lot. Just chapter 10. Okay, I thought the other chapters would be available. That's okay. That means I don't have to worry about trying to find time to stream the other chapters. But yeah, gosh, Cav dumbass. It comes from a place of caring, just like what Elion did, but it's still not cool to do something like that without their permission. So thank you all for joining me. Probably the next thing I'm not gonna stream again because, you know, holidays and stuff. Though I am on break from work and school finished. Probably in the new year I'll start streaming again. Especially since Laugh Track will be coming out soon, and Two Flower has started working on the next project after Laugh Track, and in fact working on 2 projects. They started writing a tabletop RPG for solo players because they were looking at all the ones that were available and none of them were quite what they were looking for. They started writing their own. But they're also working on the project to come after Laugh Track, which will also be free from my understanding. Though of course you can donate, either through their Patreon or through Itch or Steam. So thank you all for joining and for watching, and I don't know when I'll stream next, but I'll post on Blue Sky when I do. So take care!